All right, good morning slash afternoon, guys. Hope you're all doing well. By now in class, you should have answered this part. You should have answered all of this part. If you haven't yet, then today could be a chance for you to catch up on that. For part C, 9.6, you guys should have answered all of this already as well. 9.7, I know we didn't quite get up to that yesterday. For today, I don't want you guys to focus on the method. You should have, most of us should have our own data, and then we should also have filled out the class data as well. And then also have done the mean, median, mode, and range for visual and hearing reaction time. If you haven't done any of those things yet, that is your first port of call. For everyone else who's been keeping up, the next thing I'm going to get you guys to do today is start constructing histograms. So if you have a look over here, we've got a spot to make a couple of tables, and then we've also got some space here to glue some graphs. Okay, so the idea is that we're going to have 1 and 2 graphs here. Each of them will be a histogram. And in order to create a histogram, we first have to make a intervals and frequency table. So that'll look something like this. You'll set up with interval, might even zoom in a bit here. Interval, frequency, please use a ruler, please make it neater than me. Interval, frequency, and then for the intervals, I haven't looked at the data, so this is what I'm putting here is not necessarily going to be right, but it's just to give you an idea of what you might actually have to do, right? So if you look at the data and the smallest number fits, let's say, smallest average for visual reaction time from your class's raw data, right? So from this section here, let's say the smallest data was 201, all right? I'm going to set my first interval to start off at the number 200. All right, and then, I might need to climb relatively quickly, okay, if I'm looking at the scope of my data, so I might jump up by 30 increments, so 200 to 230, and then I would do 230 to 260, 260 to 290, and so on. This is not exactly what you have to do. You might look at your data and go, oh, actually, I need to make this jumps bigger. I need to go 200 to 250, 250 to 300, 300 to 350, and so on. That's going to be for you to judge. You want to aim to have about probably 5 to 10 intervals, okay, roughly speaking. And then, but if I was to continue this example on, then I would have, 320 to 350 and 350 to 380. And then I would come back up here, or better yet, where you've put the data in order to find the median, right? Or you could come back up here to where your raw data is, and you're going to look at how many numbers were between 200. What did I just do there? There we go. How many numbers were between 200 and 230? Count. Let's say it was 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to put 4 here for the frequency. Then, same for how many were between 230 and 260. Count. Maybe it ends up, maybe that was 6. And then I do again. Maybe this one here was 7. Maybe this one here was 2. And this one here was 1. All right. You're going to do the exact same thing over here, but for the hearing reaction times. So this first one would have been for the visual reaction times. This second one is for the hearing reaction time. Okay. After that's done, you'll ask the lovely relief teacher that you have today for a piece of grid paper. On the grid paper, you're going to make a histogram. Nothing too big. It needs to be able to fit on roughly half of this page here, right? Because we want to fit 2 histograms on that piece of paper. So you're going to draw the histogram on your grid paper. Remember that histograms will have the frequency on the y-axis and the intervals on the x-axis. So over here, I'm going to have the frequency. Over here, I'm going to have the intervals, which we can actually label specifically as, well, visual reaction times. For the first one, and, well, something else for the second one. I'm sure you guys can work it out, okay? Then we'll actually label this axis with the intervals that we need. So once again, using your grid paper or a ruler is the best practice. me just doing it like this on the iPad. Not the best practice. So it's not going to look perfect, but it gives you guys a good little reminder of what to do, okay? So my intervals were 200 to less than 230, 230 to less than 260, 260 to less than 290, 290 to less than 320, 320 to less than 350, and then I think we had 350 to 380 as well, okay? Something like that. And then once you have your histogram set up with your frequency and your intervals, oh, hang on, sorry, I forgot to actually label the frequency, hang on. So the biggest frequency I got was 7, so I'm going to have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just to reiterate, yes, this is very messy, okay? It's just to give you guys a refresher. Yours should be much neater than this, okay? So then you would go back to your interval table and you'd have a look. Okay, so between 200 to 230, I have a frequency of 4, which means that over here between 200 to 230, I'm going to go up to 4, and I'm going to complete a bar there, okay? Then from 230 to 260, I had 6 numbers in there, so I'm going to go up to number 6. Note that my bars still stay touching and come down, and we're going to do that for the rest of them. So the next one's going to be 7, all the way down. Once again, ruler, grid lines, make it neater. Then we have a 2, so we go across from a 2, and then we have a 1. Okay, so just to reiterate, this is just a completely made up example. Yours is not going to look anything like this, okay? But that would be absolutely great if you can get that done for both your visual and your hearing reaction time today, okay? So you've got 2 tables to make, and so 1 and 2, and then 2 graphs to make, 1 and 2 there. That would be great. If you get all that done and there's some time left in the lesson, feel free to start looking at and answering the discussion. I would encourage you guys not to write it down straight away into your booklet, but instead ask for your workbook, which is in the cupboard, in your folder. Ask for your workbook and do some draft answers there, okay? And then we can put a neat copy in our actual books. Okay, look, do your best to get what you can done today, guys. Don't waste this lesson, and I'll see you all later in the week. Thanks, bye.